Hi, I'm Ren, and today I am going to be doing a Levi ex-listener. My channel is dedicated to ex-listeners, so if you don't like that, you're welcome to click off right now. My channel may contain NSFW, maybe. They're all character ex-listeners, so keep that in mind. Also, requests are open until I tell you they're not, basically. Yeah, and warning, there might be gore, or not gore, but inappropriate wording, or just it sounds, or death. So this is a Levi ex-listener. It's my first time doing this on my channel. So if it sounds bad, I apologize. This is called One Place on Earth, Levi ex-listener. Credits to the owner. This isn't my story. Got this off of wattpad. And everything you need to know to find it will be in the description. Thank you. One Place on Earth, Levi ex-listener, Chapter 1. Your life was nothing more than just ordinary, oh so troublesome teenage girl's life, with all the little drama that seemed so big back then. Having a breakdown if your phone's battery died, arguing with your parents just because they came into your room without knocking, freaking out about your upcoming exams, the lack of perfect clothing when you had a party to go to on the weekends, and oh boy, if your crush didn't text you back after 15 minutes of waiting, tragic. Back then, you thought your life was hard sometimes. You had no idea just how hard your life was about to get. Fear, death, devastation, a living nightmare, complete hell on earth. Everything you knew, loved, and cherished was taken away from you in just one day. Everything was already beyond saving before no one really knew it had even started. Someone had been infected, getting sick in a way like no one had ever seen before. A couple of them went to a hospital, someone went home, others just stayed alone. It felt like a fever, a really bad fever. It took about one day before they faced the end, taking the last breath, only to be awakened again. And that's when hell broke loose. 24 hours after the first infected, the city was in complete chaos. You were at school, like everyone else, when you heard the school nurse screaming her lungs out in the corridors. Surely everyone knows what happens when a lot of people wants to see what's going on. Crowd, fuss, every hallway full of people, easy targets to the one student who died at the nurse's office. Came back a bit and bit the poor woman in the shoulder. You ran to the schoolyard, to the streets, to your home, just to see your family members being dead or just different. Then you ran some more. You still do. 3 years later, the city was dark, wrecked. Smoke was coming out of some building in the distance. Streets were covered in trash, blood, and dirt, and every now and then there was a corpse lying somewhere. There was a line going into a building which was guarded by the military police, who walked around the line holding their weapons ready if someone decides to go crazy. The people were waiting in a line to get food or other supplies that they could afford to get. There was a man at the end of the line moving restlessly. He started yelling because the line wasn't moving fast enough and he was hungry. 2 MP members walked to the man and talked to him. He kept raging about how unfair the system was and how they were forced to live like insects and how he was sick of it. He suddenly jumped towards the other officer and tried to get his weapon. The other ones in the line near him scattered away quickly. The three men struggled a while before the second officer managed to hit the man with his weapon, making him fall on the ground. The two men dragged him away from the others. They pushed him against the building, backed away, and shot him. The people were screaming and pacing around, all scared and shocked. But a few loud commands from the officers made them return to their place again and wait in silence. You watched the whole scene without any emotions getting through my mind. It wasn't the first time you had seen someone being shot in the street like a dog. Hell, you had seen worse. You were in a building at the other side of the street. You sat on a window shelf with your arms crossed lazily against your stomach, feet hooked close by your maximum comfort. You had seen so much death that it no longer made your stomach turn. Every day someone died, surely. If not here, then somewhere else. It was a fact. You remember being one of those who liked to watch movies and TV series about dark worlds filled with creatures that chased the heroes, and no matter how bad it was, they always found a way to get by. How exciting it made you see it. Oh, how much you wished something exciting like that would really happen to you one day. Now you wish you could go back in time just to smack the old you in the face with a brick, forever even dreaming about it. You took a deep breath through your nose and scratched the spot on your head that was itching. A couple of strings of your dirty hair got stuck in your cracked fingernail. You looked at the crack and bit the part off, not caring how dirty your hands were. With a sigh, you jumped off the window and stretched your arms. Where the hell is she? You thought as you walked to the other room, which was the kitchen, or what was left of it. You searched the cabinets, hoping to find somewhere something to eat, but there were nothing. Your stomach hurt for being so empty, but you just had to deal with it. You walked back to the living room, laid down on a dirty couch, and closed your eyes. You snapped awake as you heard the door opening behind the corner. Instinctively, you rolled off the couch and took your knife from the back of the belt and prepared to attack. "It's me, YN," a female voice informed by the door. About damn time, Hanji," you sighed, both relieved and pissed off. Stood up and put the knife back between your belt, pushed the shirt hem over the weapon, and walked towards the door. "Hurry up and get in," you heard Hanji saying. More footsteps followed hers into the flat. You stopped, suddenly full alert. "You're not alone?" You slowly reached for the knife again and squeezed a hand around the handle. Hanji appeared behind the corner, and you flinched a bit, almost attacking her. She stopped and gestured you to calm down as she saw the crazy in your eyes. "He's a friend. Take it easy. Something came up. Don't worry," Hanji said, trying to sound calm, but she wasn't fooling you. She was looking messy. You noticed a few cracks in her glasses, and her t-shirt had some fresh bloodstains on it. You were about to say something when you saw a man stepping into the room. He was shorter than Hanji, about your height, not really looking friendly from the face. Your survival instincts sounded an alarm in your head, and you quickly scanned the important things about this person. He had a backpack on his shoulder, a gun holster on his belt. The clothes, nothing unusual, just a pair of dark jeans and black t-shirt. But the fact that they looked so much cleaner than what most of the people's clothes were around here made you frown. You looked at his face, calm, unreadable, but most notably cold. He didn't look like the friendly type, but it was a rare quality in people these days anyways. His dark strands of hair covered slightly over his gray eyes, and that stared back at you. You bet he was also doing the same threat calculation about your appearance. "Who is he?" you asked, still holding a hand on your knife. "This is Levi," Hanji said, "and like I said, he's a friend. She walked past you and took a peek through the window where you were sitting earlier. You kept staring at the man. Levi put his hands in his pocket and glanced at Hanji, who was now looking through the stuff she had in her backpack and then back at you. So, this is the brat you talked about? He was talking to Hanji. You're sure about this? We don't need any more trouble on our way. What are you talking about? You glared at the man. What is going on, Hanji? You demanded answers. Don't you worry, she can manage, Hanji replied to Levi. Why, I'll tell you. Just hold on a moment, she then said to you before she took a walkie-talkie from her bag and clicked it on. How does this look? She asked it to do. Nothing, a cracking male voice answered from it. Good. Stay where you are and let me know if you see anything, Hanji said as she sat down on the couch. I will. You trusted Hanji, and it seems like she trusted this man, Levi. You watched her staring down at your hands. She was thinking something. Something was definitely going on. But whatever it is, you dared to assume you all stood on the same side. You decided to not poke anyone with the knife. For now, you took the hand away from the weapon and turned to Hanji, remembering another important matter. Did you bring the food? Hanji's eyes widened. Hanji's eyes widened. Oh shit. No, sorry. We ran into a couple of soldiers and we had to run. It was a mess, she said, looking sorry. You pulled your head back in frustration. Well, isn't that just perfect? You sighed and dropped yourself onto the couch next to her. Take this. Levi was holding a piece of bread in his hand, which he took from his backpack. You stared at the man, not believing your eyes. He raised his eyebrows and slightly nodded, as to say, go ahead. You took the small piece of bread and bit into it. It was dry and tasteless, but it was the best thing you had eaten in days. Thanks, you muttered with your mouth full. Levi walked to the wall and leaned his back against it. So what's the plan now? Hanji had taken her glasses off, carefully trying to clean them out without making more damage. She placed them back on and folded her arms. Well, since they're dead, who's dead? You interrupted her. Thomas and Mina, she said and continued before you had a chance to do anything else but stare at her in shock. Like I said, we ran into a couple of soldiers. Things escalated a little and we ended up dodging bullets. They got hit. And now, since we're a little short in men, I think things are going to be a bit harder for us. Or easier, Levi said. It's a lot easier to move in a smaller group. We won't draw that much attention, he continued, looking at his feet. True, Hanji nodded, but it's not safe, especially here. I think it's time to go back. You slowly turned your head to look at her. She didn't quite make sense to you. Go back. What are you talking about? You live here? Hanji noticed the wandering look in your eyes. Actually, I don't. A quick smile crossed her face. I couldn't tell you before. I knew I could trust you, and even after I did, I suppose I didn't want to put you in danger. We need to go back to our people, Levi and I. And I want you to come too, unless, of course, you like it here so much that you'd rather stay. This zone is the worst place you've ever been. No way in hell am I staying here, you said. But where are we going to exactly? You'll see. Our place is far away, and the road is dangerous, and we don't have the ride anymore thanks to MP, she said quietly. Hanji, shit, Eric. A rough voice sounded from the walkie-talkie. Hanji grabbed it. What is it? They followed us all. After all, there's a lot more than before. You have to leave now. Shit. You heard gunshots and shouting coming from the other line. You looked at each other for a couple of seconds before you all realized what was going on. Time to go. Hanji jumped off the couch, not even trying to hide her panic. You quickly started gathering your things. Levi rushed to the door to keep an eye on the corridor while Hanji was going through the cabinets to make sure to take everything she could. You ran to the bedroom and reached your hand under the bed to get your backpack. You quickly checked that it had everything inside as you ran to the door where Levi stood waiting. Hurry up, shitty glasses. Levi hissed as loud as he dared. I'm coming. She finally arrived carrying 2 big bags on her shoulders. You entered the hallway. Levi turned to the direction where they came from, and you were about to follow him when Hanji grabbed your shoulder. No, this way. You turned around and followed her to the staircase. You went to the upper floor as she guided you to the end of the hallway through the door on the left, which she pushed open. She ran to the living room window, which was covered by some clothing, and she jumped to the other side. You hesitated for a moment. You lifted the cloth, and you could see that there was a fire escape behind it. Hanji was already climbing up the stairs, and you hurried to follow her. You arrived to the rooftop, but you didn't stop. Hanji rushed you and Levi to keep following her. She ran to the edge of the roof and ducked down to lift a long construction plank from the ground. You had all this figured out, huh? You panted as you came next to her to help her place the plank so that you were able to use it to go across to the other building. The other end of the plank landed against the edge of the other roof with a loud bang. I had a hunch that this day would come someday. You can never be too careful. Hanji puffed and jumped on the plank. You looked over the edge to see how high you were. It was a long way down. Hanji reached the other side and waved you to follow. Levi and you looked at each other, both breathing heavily. You first, hurry, he said, and checked behind his shoulder if anyone was falling. You climbed the plank carefully, stepped forward. Needless to say, you were freaking out, and the wind made it really hard to maintain balance. The plank was just wide enough to fit both of your feet on it. You actually reached the other side and jumped to the roof with a big relieved sigh. As you stood up, you can see that Levi was already halfway there, basically running on the plank. You thought he was brave or crazy. Probably both. Hanji pulled the plank to your side of the roof. Come. She hurried, and you were once again running. You repeated the same method to go across more buildings until you set foot on an abandoned shipping mall. Hanji opened the door which led to the staircase. You hurried the stairs down to the ground level. You stopped at an emergency exit, catching your breaths. The soldiers appeared on the rooftop, which you first left when you were going across the second building. Once they realized that they can't get across, they went back to find an alternative way to catch up with you. They were probably running around the streets nearby right now. Say, Hanji, why exactly are they being so eager to catch us? What the hell did you do? You panted, resting your back against the wall. Hanji and Levi looked at each other. She doesn't know? Levi asked Hanji, seeming to find this information troublesome. Hanji shook her head, leaning her palms against her knees. Hanji looked at you, knowing that she had no excuses left. All right, you CYN, she breathed. We are freedom seekers, she said, and straightened her back. You frowned, trying to get the pieces of her words together, having trouble to concentrate for being so exhausted. Freedom seekers? You mean the rebels that all the soldiers are talking about here? The ones who try to fight the policed zones? You spoke up your mind, finally starting to see the bigger picture of why this is happening. That's right. I should have told you, but I didn't want to get you involved in all this. Levi gestured at your very presence. Today, when I told you that I was going to get food, we were actually checking out the zone's weapons arsenal. We were supposed to smuggle as many guns as possible, but then we had company. She smirked. Stop laughing, asshole. It's because of your big mouth that we got the guards' attention to find us in the first place. Levi stood in front of her and gripped her collar. I guess I got a bit too excited back then. Sorry. She babbled quickly. You better work on that sorry when we get back home. I am pretty sure every one of our people are dead by now. He hissed at her. The families will be crushed once we get back without them. You know that, right? Hanji kept her mouth open, but she didn't know what to say. You're right. I messed up. Hey, can you settle this somewhere else? You walk to them and push them away from each other. We are not safe yet, right? Where do we go next? Levi reluctantly let go of the issue. Hanji was quiet for a while, trying to think. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. Wyan and Levi, you go to the east side of town where you'll see a large sewer line and get out of the quarantine zone while I'll... Oh, fuck you, Four Eyes. Do I look like a babysitter to you? Levi was ready to fight her again. Excuse me? You stated with wide eyes. Levi ignored you. I don't have time to watch over some helpless girl. Hey! You pushed Levi from his shoulder. Who do you think you are, calling me helpless? Guys! Hanji shouted, making you both stare at her. Levi! She continued calmly. I have to get the documents. They're at the opposite way and it's too dangerous for us all to go there together. I know this city like my own pockets and you'd only slow me down. You go ahead first and I'll catch up to you later, okay? Hanji suggested. We can't go back empty-handed. All those people died for nothing if we do. You all were silent for a while, thinking about your chances. Levi kept his eye on Hanji, and clearly something that she said ticked in him, resulting a calm sigh to leave his nose. Fine, Levi agreed. Where do we meet next? The house. Hanji took a folded piece of paper from her bag and gave it to Levi. The route is different from the sewers, but I've marked the way up in this map. Take what you need, but leave something for me. If I don't show up in 2 hours after you get there, leave and keep heading back home. Levi checked the map and put it in his pocket. We better keep going. Then he turned to open the door slowly. He checked the surroundings before you stepped out into the alley. Okay, I'll go this way. Hanji pointed to the other side of the valley, and you go there. She turned her arms to the other way. Be safe and good luck, she said before she turned on her way. You watched as she disappeared behind the corner, and then you and Levi looked at each other. Don't get in my way, Levi grunted. Don't get on my nerves, you snapped back. You glared at each other when you suddenly heard the soldiers shouting commands at the street nearby. All the tension between you was gone in a second. He took a hold of your arm and guided you in the direction you needed to go. That was chapter 1 of the Levi X Listener, One Place on Earth, chapter 1. Yeah. That was very intense. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.